Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I guess since you're here, we'll talk about our van shower. Back in April, after we posted our van tour video, the #1 questions we get and the #1 most visited web page is about our shower build guide blog. And while the blog post is great and we go into some good detail in our van tour video, we wanted to make a video specifically about our wet bath to answer every question, to get into exactly how we built it, and tell you about the pros and cons now that we've been living with it for almost a year. So we're actually at home for a week right now. We figured it'd be a great time to go really in depth with this video about our wet bath. If you want to watch the van tour video, we'll link it up here, and we'll link the shower build guide blog in the description below. Also, every part that I talk about in this video will be listed and linked in our free van build parts list that you can download in the description below. All right, let's get into it. To start out with, I'll talk about the framing of the shower. Along the edge of the van's wall, we added 1x2s and made the van wall as straight up and down as possible because it does curve, and we wanted a very flat surface to lay the plywood and then the FRP board on the interior. So with the 1x2 framing on the van wall, we also did a 2x4 framed back wall behind me here. The great aspect of having a 2x4 fully framed wall is that we can hide the plumbing inside of that wall. We were also able to build a little bedside cubby inside of that wall behind here as well. The final aspect of this wall is that our electrical for the shower light is run within that 2x4 wall as well. Now on the front side of the shower, we had to do a 1/2-inch plywood wall. Initially, we actually wanted to frame that wall as well because, like I mentioned, it's pretty useful space to hide electrical wires or anything you might want. But we were going to run into one of our LED lights that we had previously installed all in a row on top. So we realized that we didn't have room for a framed wall. We had to use a 1/2-inch plywood wall. It's actually held up great, and it's very thin, so it doesn't use much space, it's great. But if we did it again, we'd probably use a 3/4-inch plywood wall just for a bit more rigidity. So after all the framing was up, we added some waterproof flashing tape along the edges, behind the plywood, behind the FRP, just in case any condensation or liquid got behind the walls. And then we made the plywood walls on top of all the framing. The plywood walls are necessary if you are using FRP board because you have to have a completely solid, smooth, and flat surface to glue the FRP board onto. Our FRP board is totally smooth and white. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you find this really ugly, like 1970s textured FRP. We did not want that. However, we had to special order this from a building supply store. It's the only place we could find smooth white FRP. Now, adhering the FRP was definitely a 2-person job. Alex and I tackled that. It took like an entire day to glue and press it up against the walls perfectly, and then you have to let it set for about 12 to 24 hours. And to cut the FRP, we highly recommend getting sheet metal shears. We'll link a really cheap and good one from Harbor Freight Tools. Finally, we used FRP edging that actually comes with the FRP board, or you can find it at Home Depots and Lowe's in the same section. And that edging is what you see in all the corners. Then to seal the final little gap along the edging, we used bathroom caulk. One thing to note about using the caulk in a van is that we've noticed that with high temperature fluctuations, like freezing overnight and then 80 degrees plus in the day, the caulk actually seems to separate from the edges. I think that's also because the FRP board and the glue seems to move as well. It doesn't create any problems, but it's just something that we've noticed to definitely caulk those gaps very thoroughly. Okay, now I wanted to mention some things about our shower pan. It's a pretty standard RV shower pan, 24 inches wide by 36 inches long. That gives us a great amount of room to be standing and showering in front of our Nature's Head composting toilet. And one thing about a standard shower pan with the drain in the middle in a Promaster is that that drain hole will hit directly underneath the van on a fore-aft support beam. We found out the hard way by actually drilling there. So what we had to do is put two 90-degree drains together, a very shallow 90-degree drain to another 90-degree drain that comes out of the bottom in one of the open cavities underneath the van. All right, next up I'm going to talk about our entire plumbing system. So our water tank is a 27-gallon fresh water tank from Valterra. That goes to our sink and our shower. Before it comes to the shower, it goes through a one-stage filter and then our Bosch 4-gallon hot water heater, and then into the shower head. So the 4 gallons of hot water is great for us each to take a pretty quick shower. How we shower in the van is like on-off showers. You know, you get wet and then you soap yourself up and then you wash off, and then you do that about 3 or 4 times and you're all clean. Uses way less water, and we're able to take 2 showers each, and our water lasts about a week on that 27-gallon tank, using it for everything from cooking, drinking, showering, cleaning, all that stuff. All right, now let's talk about the Nature's Head toilet. So it's great to have a toilet in the van. We do have some qualms with the Nature's Head toilet itself, but first I'll take you into kind of the technical aspects of how we installed it here in the van. We use this rubber grommet to route the vent through the FRP board. It's a completely waterproof seal and it's really tight around the vent. And then we route that vent hose down through that 2x4 framed wall behind the shower and out of the bottom floor of the van. On that vent on the bottom of the van, we do have a mesh screen as well. Okay, so it's great to have a toilet right now. We can just rely on ourselves and not any public infrastructure like I've mentioned, but it really decreases the amount of time between having to empty the Nature's Head. For us, we have to empty the liquids container every 2 days maximum, and the solids container for us lasts 2 weeks maximum. That's using it just about every day. So there's no real time for the compost to actually work in there and break things down. We made it last about 3 weeks when we were able to use public toilets, but now it's 2 weeks max for sure. So we end up having to carry a lot of peat moss for toilet changes every month. One of the biggest downsides of the Nature's Head design is that you have to lift the lid off of the solids container in order to take the liquid container out, which, as we said, is about every 2 days for us. So the van fills with that musty, earthy, slightly poopy smell every time that you take the liquids out. Recently, we saw a competitor to Nature's Head called Airhead Composting Toilet, and it seems to address a lot of the downsides of the Nature's Head. I don't think it was available last year when we were building our van, but if we were building our van now, I think that we would spend about $100 more to get that Airhead composting toilet, because you don't have to lift the solids bin to get the liquid out. It looks a little bit more compact overall, and just a little bit more thoughtful design that fixes all the negatives about the Nature's Head. So check that out. We'll link both the Nature's Head and the Airhead in the description below, and you can decide for yourself. So now that I've described all the aspects of our Nature's Head and what we like and we don't like, we'll actually show you what it's like to change it, because it needs a change right now. So to empty the solids bin of the Nature's Head, first obviously we have to empty the liquids, and then what I'm going to do is place a 10-gallon trash bag over the solids bin, which fits perfectly. You invert the solids bin, shake it out, tap it a bit, and that's pretty much it. So that's how easy it is. So after you've emptied the solids bin, we use peat moss. You can also use coconut coir. And what we do on the road is we fill 1-gallon plastic Ziploc baggies with peat moss, and we take that with us. Like I said, just a 1-gallon Ziploc. Super simple. 3 of these equals a refill for the toilet. So we try to keep like 6 in the van, and that lasts us a little more than a month of having a full-time toilet. It's really easy to fill this. You just take a trowel and you want to fill it until you reach the metal mixer level in there. It's about halfway full. All right, so that's the process of emptying the solids bin, which, like I mentioned, we have to do about every 2 weeks while we're on the road. The final thing that we wanted to talk about is the wooden shower mat that we added into the RV shower pan. It makes it look a lot better, and it actually holds our Nature's Head in place as well, because we cut the shower pan out to contour the Nature's Head, so it serves that dual purpose. It's also nicer to stand on in showers. It doesn't accumulate any liquid on top of it, so your feet seems like cleaner. And one of the biggest reasons we added it is that sitting on the Nature's Head, your feet almost dangle, it's so high. So that shower pan actually lifts our feet up about 1.5 inches and makes it more comfortable to sit on the toilet. We hope this informative video about our van's wet bath has been helpful for you in your van build. You can find out more on our blog post about the shower build and also in our van tour video. As I mentioned before, we also have a free parts list PDF download that lists every part that I've talked about today and every part in our van. You can find all those 3 linked in the description below. If you found this video helpful, we would love it if you gave us a thumbs up, and you can subscribe for more van life, filmmaking, and travel content in the future. Thanks so much. See ya.